welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. All right, I'm going to kind of pick up where we left off. Thought I answered all the questions. Now I look at my schedule. So um, we're looking at these problems. So we have been working with similar triangles. So similar triangles are triangles. They have the same angle measures. Just one of them is so much bigger or so much smaller than the other one, and that number is called a scale factor. Okay, so if something is twice as big, three times as big, two-thirds the size, that's what you were looking at. So in order to solve these problems, we were setting up proportions. Proportions were basically cross multiply and divide, but maybe a little bit more. Okay, so now these similar triangles, which we had a problem in your homework already. And I think a couple of you said, well, I didn't solve it that way, but I got the same answer. Well, it's because it was a problem that looked like this. So what I have here is I have overlapping triangles, okay? So these two triangles are similar if their lines are parallel, if their bases are parallel. If they're not parallel, then no. So I know that ADE is similar to ABC. And like I said, it's only if you have parallel lines because the angle up in the small triangle D and the big triangle B are the same. They're corresponding angles. And then triangle E or triangle, little triangle where the angle E is and then angle C are the same because they're corresponding angles. Okay, so all I said was different proportions can be set up because that's real vague. So let's go back here. Let's get out here. Stop presenting. All right, so what I want to do is I want to kind of draw that same picture. Okay, so this is what it was. Something like this. This was parallel to this. And I believe it looked like this. All right, so there was my triangle, and I said that triangle ADE was similar to triangle ABC. So remember what that told me. This told me a lot of information, that angle A is the same. Obviously, they share it. Angle D and angle B are the same. Angle E and angle C are the same. That if you set up proportions, you could set up AD, kind of back up a little bit. Okay, you could put AD over AB equals, DE over BC. Okay, so if I just took a side from little and put it over the corresponding side from big, I out this tells you a lot. It tells you what proportions you can set up if you write it correctly. All right, but then I said there was others. So if these lines are parallel, this is what can happen. So here are some other ones, and when you guys said, but I did it different. Okay, so now this is, you're just looking at the big triangle. So looking at this big triangle, if I start with the shared angle here, and I did part of a side over the other part, I go back to that shared angle, part of that side over the other part. Those are proportional if they are parallel. Okay, so if I'm going to do this type of thing where I kind of do part of the sides, that's fine. I can do that. Okay, I can do I can do DB over BA equals EC over CA. I can do this little piece, kind of, you look at the shared angle, the bottom piece over the whole thing equals bottom piece over the whole thing. So there's lots of different things, but remember, whatever you set up on one side, you have to set up on the other. So if you're going to use this, you're taking one from one triangle, one from the other. If you're doing pieces, because this whole side of this big triangle got broken down to a couple pieces, start at the shared angle. That's where you're going to start. Okay, so let's look at a problem here. All right, so I'm going to switch up my A, B, C, D, E. So that's x plus 2. This is 6. This is 8, and this is 5. Okay. There we go. Okay, so what if I said find x? And then you could always plug in whatever side you want. And then I could say find BD or something. Okay, so if I said find x, now you can break this down into, I would kind of star where that shared angle is. So if you're going to do parts. Okay, so there's lots of different things. So I said you could break this into parts. So I can do x plus 2 over the other part of that whole side is 6. Then I can come over here. So remember, if this whole thing is 8 and this is 5, I hope you did your mad subtraction skills and got 3. So then if I start at the shared and go 3, that would be over 5. Okay. So that's one way I could do this. I could set this up as you have these two triangles. So I could do triangle side, x plus 2, over this whole triangle side, which would be x plus 8. And then I could do little triangle side, 3, big triangle side, 8. Okay. You could do, starting here, you could do this bottom part, 6, over the whole side. Well, then come over here and do the same thing. I can do the bottom part, kind of start, finger here, bottom part of that, the part that's not closest to where I'm shared, over the entire thing. So there's lots of different ways you can set this up. That in mind, and don't get fixated on my triangles have to look like this. They have to be like this. I just rotated it and this is what it looked like. Okay, so I'm just going to pick one of these to solve because they're all going to give me the same thing. So I'm just going to go with this one because it's my last one that is sitting there. So I got 5x plus 40 equals 48. So remember, I'm just cross multiplying. If I subtract 40, I get 8x equals 8/5. So it's 1 3/5, 1.6. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one I do. All of these will give me 8/5. You can try them all out. I don't advise it because I know they will. So if I said find x, you could find x. If I said find BD, well, if that's 1.6, 1.6 plus 2 is 3.6. So there's your, you put them in decimals, that's fine. I usually don't, but it's okay. Okay, so another one. So if I give you this one. I got A, B, C, E, D. But remember, these lines have to be parallel. If they're not parallel, this doesn't work. So if you have X and you have 4, oops, and you have 3 and you have 6. Okay, now if on this one, if I want you to find X, okay, that's fine. Here's the problem here. Remember, this is the angle that they share if you want to star that. So if you're going to do X over 4, you have to have part of the big, because remember that has to do with the big triangle. You'd have to have this part and this part. These aren't parts. This is a side. So the only time you can do that X over 4 is if you come back here and you have this over this. Otherwise, this is just a triangle. Little triangle. So do little triangle. So I'm going to do X over big triangle, X plus 4. And then I got little triangle side. And then I got big triangle side. So if you have the insides, those are sides of triangles. Those aren't parts that got broken down. Those are actual sides. So on this one, X equals 4. And I didn't, oh, that's a cute 4. So this is 4, and that leaves that whole thing to be 8. Okay, I'll put the homework in there, and we're working with overlapping.